Welcome to another episode of Living with Purpose. Today I am with a very dear friend, Lisa Goodman, at their house of Joseph Vaskovich and Lisa's house, where we are recording this episode. By the way, Lisa and I share a birthday.
Yes,
so that is
indeed.
a great commonality that we have. But Lisa is this extraordinary individual that has been an entrepreneur, a social impact entrepreneur, somebody that has invested a huge amount of time in making the community a better place. But most importantly, my favorite part of what Lisa does is that she is, and Joseph, a collector of contemporary art, especially African and emerging artists from all over the world. So Lisa, welcome to Living with Purpose.
Thank you so much for your kind introduction. I'm very humbled and honored to be on your podcast and share your birthday. I could only be as extraordinary as you.
Oh my God, no.
That would be amazing.
So Lisa, talk a little bit about, your journey. Like growing up on the East Coast, moving to Seattle, but this amazing global work that you have and these journeys that you made all over the world, especially with art and social impact work that you're doing. So for our listeners, just give us a snippet of your journey.
Sure. So I grew up in outside of Philadelphia in a suburb, middle class, lower middle class, with a single mother. And money was very tight, so I learned early on to be scrappy and to really embrace the community and for opportunities that might be available. When I was in high school, I had a person who mentored me in business. He had an electrical engineering company, and he took a risk and brought me on to do accounting, even though I was a science major. And from there, it really solidified being an entrepreneur, and that I could be successful as an entrepreneur.
So, but then you thrived as an entrepreneur.
Mm-hmm.
Share a little bit about that, and then you moved to Seattle.
Right. So I went to school and with a degree in biochemistry and nutrition, moved to Washington, D.C., and my aim was really to improve the health of others. When I was a kid, I saw this Fruit Loop box saying that the Fruit Loops were as nutritious as an apple, which really irritated me because I knew it wasn't true. So I just felt like I had a long time passion to try to improve the world and help others. So I got a job with a startup that was working with Johns Hopkins and with the federal government doing health promotion and wellness programs. And I started at the House and Senate, and we're counseling senators on how to survive going to a party and I created walking programs with the President's Council on Fitness. And I landed a blanket contract with the Public Health Service. So just by listening, allowing mentorship, I had the head of the Public Health Service said, you should do this for all 35 federal agencies under their purview. And with that, I became a partner of the company. So I had two other women partners, and I became a partner of that company. And probably worked 7 days a week, but had this incredible opportunity to help change hundreds of thousands of employees, improve their health with smoking cessation, nutrition, stress management programs, working with the best of class with Johns Hopkins and other organizations. From that, I actually was in Seattle, and I was asked to speak at a President's Council on Fitness conference about how do you engage employees, how do you engage and motivate people to take advantage of programs that are being offered. And an admiral at the Navy heard me speak. He asked if I could come in and work with the Navy and the Marines globally on initially their health and physical readiness programs. So I left the company I was with, and I thought it was a bigger opportunity to work with millions of people, both active, retired, and families across the Navy and the Marines. So I started with health and physical readiness, and then from there moved into alcohol and drug abuse programs, promoting that, family services centers that are around the world, as well as child abuse and sexual violence. So it was a really humbling opportunity. I traveled the world. I got to go to naval bases, listening to families that were often left when their spouses were deployed for 6 months and they were left really to fend on their own. So it was really a privilege to be able to connect all these services that were available that many people didn't know about, that would help those families be able to thrive and not be at such a disadvantage for people that were serving our country.
So talk a little bit about that, and then this interest in art. Talk a little bit about that.
So being an entrepreneur in Washington, D.C., I was working all the time, pretty stressed, driving around the Beltway, trying to get everywhere, getting parking tickets, booted. You know, in my car, I'd be in a meeting and I ran longer and my car was constantly being booted, and I'd have to go get cash to go get my car out of the parking lot. So art, to me, I would go to the Smithsonian, I'd go to the Phillips collection, and I'd just sit with art, and it brought me tremendous peace. And then when I wasn't working, I got involved with the Kennedy Center, on the board of the Kennedy Center for an awards program, and then DC Contemporary Dance. And I started taking art classes also at the Smithsonian. So it was like the opposite side of things, to be with creators, to be, you know, people also thinking globally, but not about doing business or doing deals or doing, you know, worrying about, you know, how I'm going to pay my subcontractors or other people. It just was this incredible space. So, and when I was a kid, we would go to the Philadelphia Art Museum. When I was in school, I'd go to all the museums in New York City, and it was kind of a respite to be able to be in art spaces around brilliant artists.
So share, I mean, I for me, this is not an exaggeration, but you and Joseph are probably have one of the most amazing contemporary art collections of young, emerging artists, African American artists, artists from other parts of the world. So talk a little bit about your collection and what it means to you.
Yeah, the current collection, our focus is artists of the African diaspora, which really started when Joseph was part of the team that opened Microsoft's offices in South Africa. So at the time, people would go to wineries or you know, go do historic things. Joseph started collecting art in South Africa. And out of that, and at the same time, I was collecting art around women and as well underserved and emerging artists. So, and at that time, no one was collecting art from Africa. Black artists also were not being collected and seen as a lot of value. It was all these blue chip artists that people were chasing. So we just had a privilege of collecting early artists and the diaspora, including black artists. And then about 8 or 9 years ago, we started collecting Latinx artists and then artists that deal with social justice and gender. And our aim as stewards to be advocate and amplify voices. So at any given time, we might have 35 to 50 works out on loan. We gift work. And then open our home on a very regular basis, several times a month, either host an artist or curator, other collectors, and so that those voices can be amplified and their work can be seen. That's kind of our as being a steward, that's our...
So you have this extraordinary collection behind us that some of you that are watching it on the video version are seeing. Just talk a little bit about these two artists behind us, these two paintings behind us, and just share a
Yeah,
little bit about?
so the first artist on the right is a very young artist, Nick Coleman. So it's a self-portrait of him in front of the Isabel Gardner Museum. Both his parents were professors, law professors, and he decided to go become an artist, and with the support of his parents. He's, I think Joseph saw his work, and we then shared it. We have a collective of other collectors, friends that are based in LA, Arizona, New York, Texas, London, and we shared this artist with others and sold out the show, his first show. So he's on a nice trajectory with his next show, also sold out, and he's just we spent time with him. We feel really that 99% of the art in the house are artists that we've spent time with that we consider our friends. So we feel like we're living with our friends on a day-to-day basis. The next artist is Otis Kwame, and he is he's originally from Ghana, from Accra, and he lives in Portland now. So he has a nice home and in Portland, and with his wife and a big German Shepherd. But he was friends with Amoako Boafu and another artist, Kwesi. They were selling their work on the streets of Accra, and all of them are doing very, very well and giving back, opening residencies in Africa and mentoring other artists.
That's awesome. So let's shift a little bit towards purpose. And why is purpose important to you?
You know, I did this brilliant program with Akhtar called Accelerating Social Transformation about 6-7 years ago. That really hit it spot on that my purpose was being an advocate. And I look back in my life, and all of my life's work started when I was a kid in 5th grade. I was invited to go to the UN, and I saw the work that the UN was doing, and I said, wow, I could, maybe do something, make the world a better place, and, pay it forward for the people that gave me opportunities. So my life work is around equity, is around helping. I feel like we have a collective responsibility to help others, be kind, take the from a life's work, a network, knowledge, how to get things done, and help others by having those same opportunities that would never have opportunities, have that access to that network, or it could take them a whole lifetime, if ever.
So how are you using purpose when times get difficult?
Well, it's just that the work just brings me tremendous joy, just of meeting, every time I meet someone and just hearing their story and saying, wow, I can help them. Like taking myself out of things and being humble, and that, almost on a daily basis, I meet someone and I think, I'm talking to an incredible Michael Bennett. He's a former Seahawks player, should win the MacArthur Genius Award. So he played professional football. Now he's creating furniture and then creating sculptural public art spaces. So the furniture relates to his growing up with racism in the South. It's from wood from Africa. And his public art spaces are creating peaceful spaces for people of color. And so we've been meeting, and I've helping him find a gallery for his furniture, and then hopefully help fundraise for some of the public art spaces that he's looking at doing, both in Seattle and in other places. But it's a kind of a daily basis, or it could be a community where that needs help in building capacity around inclusive economies, which we've done a lot of work together, Akhtar, around that as well. So I think just taking yourself out and not being focused on, because people are, we live a very privileged life that people are at much more difficult circumstances.
So let's, just to kind of, on a recap basis, this notion of how purpose becomes this energy that actually lets you step out with the focus on you being the center. And then really looking around. And when I see your artwork, when I see the work that you have done with us in Seattle, with Restart Partners during COVID, what you're doing now in the community, especially working with some of these amazing people like Michael Bennett, but other, just small nonprofit organizations, and really, not only do I find you to be an advocate, I also find you to be a connector. You're constantly connecting people to opportunities, to resources, for networking. And that to me is this amazing energy that you bring. So let's end by you just sharing with us your one golden nugget, a piece of wisdom that you would like to, leave behind for our listeners.
Okay. I think it goes back to being humble and humility, and that I'm not any more special, in many cases not as special as most of the people that I encounter every day, that they're much wiser, much more talented. What I have, being an entrepreneur and having started multiple companies, is I have skills where I'm able to connect, I'm able to problem solve, be scrappy, figure out how to connect the dots in ways that might take that person that's been singularly focused, and I've been broad across the board. I'm doing lots of different things, so like a Swiss Army knife. So I'm able to take all those different components and mix it up to pretty quickly, like an entrepreneur does, to say, wow, how can I create a solution around that? Who in my network would be, or in that network might have another connection that would be able to amplify or create impact.
So thank you very much. I love the Swiss Army knife analogy, right? That there are times where you need to be an expert, and there are times where there are people who live a life where they can participate in a number of different things. And both ways you can actually make an impact. So once again, thank you very much for being part of this episode. Again, purpose is that renewable source of energy that continues to drive humanity forward. Until next time, to our next episode of Living with Purpose, thank you very much for joining us.